Republican lawmakers are warning of a threat to national security posed by a Chinese state-controlled shipping platform called LOGINK. They say the digital logistics system could provide the Chinese Communist Party with sensitive U.S. government and military data. Beijing is offering the LOGINK platform to freight carriers, ports, and foreign nations free of charge. They call it a one-stop shop for data management and tracking shipments. It's being subsidized by China's Ministry of Transport. Over 20 global ports are using the platform already. Senator Tom Cotton and Representative Michelle Steele called it a disaster for American interests in a letter to President Biden. They worry the CCP could exploit it to identify early trends in the movement of U.S. military and equipment. Over 25 congressional GOP members joined the letter. They urged Biden to take action to stop the spread of the system. And now joining me to talk about LOGINK is Ross Kennedy. He's the founder of Fortis Analysis. So now, Ross, Republican lawmakers are sounding alarm over this LOGINK platform. How serious is the threat? What's the threat level? Are they justified to sound the alarm?
Yeah, the most famous threat that we've seen really emerge in the last 8 to 10 months in terms of the public's, I think, consciousnness related to, the Communist Party of China's efforts to subvert and undermine Western institution and, the rules-based order has been land purchases, asset purchases, corporate purchases of things that, could provide a potential threat to U.S. national security. That includes especially farmland and land near military installations. So if we set that as the bench line of, hey, this is very alarming, the logging platform, once fully mature, at least according to the plans of the CPC, is 100 times more damaging potentially to not just U.S. national and economic security interests, but really to anybody in the world that the CPC has decided that it is an enemy or an adversary.
So 100 times more damaging. How so?
So the logging platform is not just, here in the U.S., we have platforms that essentially interchange data between all the various stakeholders in the global supply chain system, particularly in air freight and in maritime shipping. When you come to the U.S., there's only a few things really that have to be shared with the U.S. government before they will allow a shipment to come into the U.S. So that's the manufacturer of the goods, country of origin, what the goods are, bill of lading information. So just a really few kind of basic things. LOGINK is something completely different. It's a fully integrated BPAS, or business process as a service platform. And what that does is it actually becomes the entire data architecture of the shipping company, the ocean carrier, the freight forwarder, the NVOCC, or the manufacturer themselves, as far as the way in which their data flows to their own internal systems, but is shared out to the world. So the difference is here in the U.S., it has to be shared out. It's only a few specific things that are required by law. With LOGINK, it would be as if TikTok, famously takes control of everything on your phone or has integrations to everything on your phone as an app. LOGINK is that, except for the supply chain of every single company and airport that integrates on that system. It fundamentally becomes a data architecture that has eyes and visibility to every single business transaction, shipping transaction, or supply chain milestone within any given company or service provider that's utilizing this system.
So then why is this data valuable?
Well, the reason it was developed, in China it's called the National Transportation Logistics Public Information Platform. We call it LOGINK on the international basis. LOGINK was really rolled out to the world in 2014 very kind of quietly as the data architecture element of Belt and Road to manage the shipments of things that were involved in Belt and Road transactions from somewhere in China to the destination country and vice versa. But very, very quietly at that same time, what China and what most people would consider sort of the three main factors of production, which is capital, land, and labor, China quietly added data to it. And the reason the data is important is just in the same way I would perform analysis on a given company or in a given situation by looking at the data and saying, what does this reveal, not only about how the company operates, but who its partners are, what bills it pays, what types of things are they buying, what types of things are they selling. All of that information is the most valuable economic information in the world because you can't hide from it. the operations of a company that are integrated on LOGINK are completely exposed to the Communist Party of China, and then they get chunked through algorithms and overlaid. And from that, the CPC has the ability to build a map of the entire global commercial network, not just on companies that are in China or doing business with China, but by integrating into other common trusted platforms that are already integrated with the ports and the carriers and the companies involved. LOGINK now has access to that without even being directly a part of that network. It's quite pervasive, but it is the roadmap to economic dominance that Xi Jinping intends to use, not only for Made in China 2025, but also for the longer term plans of 2035, 2049, and beyond.
Can you just go a little deeper, like explain it to very simple terms? What is the CCP's end game with this?
Well, the end game fundamentally is to know every single thing about the global economy and to be able to, at any time, be able to disrupt or replace any node in that chain. I can give two very simple examples. Example number one is if the Chinese Communist Party is aware of a specific item that's being sold to the U.S. military from another country, and they have that visibility because of LOGINK's integration to all the various platforms, they would then be able to, no matter how secret the transaction may be, they would then be able to not only have visibility to who's buying and selling, but then be able to actually penetrate and target the systems, the data systems of those companies through LOGINK integrations and software programs, and be able to actually commit industrial espionage against those companies and prevent them from being able to do business or steal data and other ways of doing that. The second thing is LOGINK will actually have the ability, by having access to the data records, to actual cause physical disruption in the real world as cargo moves off a ship and into a port, being able to pull one bill of lading number out, one container number out, switch it around for another. And it's almost like a DDoS attack, the way you can swarm attack a server and overload it. The capabilities there to do that in the real world if you're able to interact with the shipping and transaction data of the systems themselves. And so that would be one way in which if a specific company or if China wanted to cause chaos in the US or in another country, being able to actually manipulate and change port data, what the containers are, what the ships are, et cetera, would cause immense physical real world harm and economic harm to those countries.
So essentially, China could potentially use LOGINK as a weapon of warfare.
Absolutely. And that is 100% why that LOGINK is specifically subordinate to the national intelligence law that China passed in 2017. It's subordinate to the national security laws that were passed in the wake of the Hong Kong issues and hereafter. The idea of LOGINK is that it is a data pillar, a tool of espionage and a tool of mass economic control and destruction for the world.
Now, this platform, what is the direct link between LOGINK and the CCP?
So LOGINK ostensibly was a private product that emerged in the Zhejiang province in 2010. But what it actually has been from the very beginning is it's a platform that's managed by the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, and the Ministry of Transportation. These two ministries work together and have a special kind of joint working group, if you will, just for the LOGINK platform that's subordinate to different levels of command within the CPC and even within the PLA, not within the chain of command of either of the ministries.
Do you know if any U.S. carriers are currently using this platform?
So carriers that do business within the U.S., yes. Mediterranean Shipping Company, CMA, which is domiciled in Geneva, Switzerland, CMA CGM, which is domiciled in France, both have integrated on it. To my knowledge, Maersk has not done so yet, which Maersk is a major player within the even under the Jones Act with carrying U.S. military cargo or commercial cargo in U.S. territorial waters. But the Port of Los Angeles has already integrated with LOGINK indirectly through the IPCSA platform. The most insidious thing probably that LOGINK has done to date has made itself part of the IPCSA's network of trusted networks. And what that means is that there is a no questions asked policy that if a port is a member of the IPSA, the International Port Community Standards Association, which is designed to make all the smart ports and all the data within the various global ports talk to one another and be more seamless for everybody involved. With LOGINK now being fully integrated as an inner circle trusted member of that network of platforms and devices, they now have visibility to any data that runs through any port that they're integrated with, not just the carriers or stakeholders involved. So the ports themselves are the main vulnerability, and the fact that cargo ports are now data portals for global commerce, the fact that for quite a time now, the Port of Los Angeles has been the busiest, really up until the last 6 months, the busiest port in the U.S. That means that almost everything coming through the port, the gateway of Los Angeles, LOGINK has visibility to and eyes on whether that shipment started in China or whether that service provider or that carrier is integrated directly with LOGINK. They can still see the data and interact with it.
Wow, that's incredible. But just last thing, Ross, what do you think should be done in light of all the dangers you've mentioned?
Well, the U.S.-China Commission released a report in September that I think really did make a good attempt to really take a shot at understanding the scope and breadth of the issue. And they laid out some recommendations in there, but the recommendations kind of stopped short of something truly actionable. If I were king for a day, and with the awareness of what this problem is, it would be as simple as saying you have 6 months as a carrier, as a port, to wean yourself off of and disconnect yourself from the utilization of LOGINK or any platform that is adjacent to and direct and connected to LOGINK, or you will not be able to conduct business inside the territorial waters of the United States, which means they can bring cargo to the United States, but they got to stop 12 miles out from shore and they cannot berth. It would be as very simple as the U.S. using its economic might to have some level of say and pushback in that and really drive awareness to the issue.
All right. Thank you very much for your insight. Ross, pleasure speaking to you today.
Thank you, Don.